Hi, I'm Kristen and this is Scrap Fabric Love. And today I'm doing a mini kind of trunk show, year in review of all the quilts I finished in 2024. So I'm including everything that was quilted, bound, finished. Nothing that I didn't finish because there was plenty of other stuff, plenty of little projects. You can see lots of that on the channel. But this is for just my finished quilts. It's kind of a record for myself. I do it every year. I like being able to look back, and some folk have said they like watching it too, so I thought I'd do it again. There's a couple that I can't show you because the pattern's not out until March, sort of April this year. So, and I did kind of 2 test versions of it. So there's 2 that aren't appearing, but if you want to see those, you can just stick around on the channel for another few months and they'll pop up at some point. So anyway, no further ado, let's just get to the quilts. So the first quilt that I finished in 2024 was this quilt, which was kind of a request quilt from my Uncle Keith. He's an artist, he's traveled the world, and he brought back all these kind of sentimental fabrics and asked me to make a quote-unquote postmodern quilt with it. I'm not sure this is postmodern, but I had a whole series about this quilt on the channel, including talking to him about what he wanted about the quilt and then my thought process going through and making it. It was a fun challenge. It didn't turn out exactly as I had maybe hoped, but he seemed to like it and it was a really fun exercise. So I enjoyed making that one. So next up was my framed scraps quilt, totally different color palette, but still about preserving kind of precious fabrics, except in this case, much smaller scraps. So just things I'd kind of saved from other projects, or I knew I just wanted to showcase somewhere. So I have 2 videos about this, one about just making the blocks themselves and one about how I put the quilt together. I really liked the quilting that I ended up doing on this quilt, rather kind of randomly. It wasn't totally planned, but once I started, I really liked it, just sort of letting the scraps pop. So there was a lot about this quilt that I really enjoyed making, and lots of you do message me about this one and tell me you've made versions. So that was another super fun one. Next up was my improv quilt along. So this was a series of videos on the channel where I talked you through my process of just starting with a heap of fabric and some scraps and then eventually ending up with a kind of improv quilt that just wasn't planned ahead of time. I liked how this came out. Divided opinion slightly. I did get one comment on that video saying it was the ugliest quilt someone had ever seen, but I like it. If you want to watch the quilt along videos, you can still go back and see those on the channel, and all the videos for all of the quilts I'm talking about, the links will be in the description. And I enjoyed that quilt along so much that I immediately started another one. So I made a series of 3 videos and put them together into what's called the Big Blocks Quilt Along. So it was basically 3 super easy, beginner-friendly 20-inch quilt blocks. I used super bright colors and polka dots because it was a gift from my going away gift from my friend Mary, and she loves all that kind of stuff. And she did end up really liking the quilt, so I was super pleased with that. This is just the scrappy polka dot backing that I did as well. And I did a scrappy binding for it. So lots of scrap busting. And there's another video about the binding if you want that. But one of the things that made me love this quilt was not just that she liked it, but also that so many of you seem to like it. I've got some photos here that I meant to share way earlier of folk who've sent in their versions, and I love how different it looks in the different colors. If you sent me your photo and you don't see it here, it's because it got lost in my filing system, not because I didn't like it. But thank you to everyone who showed me what you did with this one. I really loved seeing them all. Complete change of pace. The next quilt I was working on was this one. It's called Can We Change Our Spots? And it was made specifically for the sustainable category in the Festival of Quilts. I realized when making this video that I never actually made a video about me making this quilt. I had intended to. I've got some footage. I don't know why I didn't make it. I'm a little scatty, I guess, sometimes. Anyway, this quilt was made using entirely recycled fabrics or repurposed fabrics, however you want to say that. So old jeans, the batting was flannel sheet, the backing was old IKEA curtains. The yarn that I used to couch it and tie it was bought from charity shops. The brightly colored center of the leopard print spots, which is what that's meant to be, are sort of fabric samples, bits of old cushions. The black is from an old sheet, and the whole thing was just a bit of a labor of love. I really enjoyed making this. Didn't win anything at the show, obviously, but I'm still trying to find a place to hang it in my house because it's really big and it's really heavy. But anyway, if anyone still wants a video about that, let me know. Maybe I'll find a way to revive the footage. At the same time as working on that quilt, I was collaborating with Tom, colorblind quilter, on our two-person collaboration quilt. So if you've not seen his channel or seen the series of videos about us making this quilt, go check it out. It goes back and forth between my channel and his channel. And we had loads of fun making it, and it was great to see it hanging in the show as well. Definite change of pace for the next one. This was a quilt for my friend Angie's child. It was meant to be a baby quilt, went on a bit long, turned into a toddler quilt. Anyway, it did actually come together quickly. I just didn't get around to making it until now. Anyhow, I used for this quilt my favorite quilt as you go technique, which I'm now calling join and flip. So I didn't invent the method, but I have adapted it for my own uses, and there's just so many ways you can use it. Here I'm using it for a simple quilt. I'm putting the batting in row by row so I don't have thick seams. I don't need any joining strips, but there's loads of different ways you can adapt this method. And I've got other videos on the channel if you're interested in that, and I will link them in the description. So now we're getting into the territory where I can't show you the front of the quilt. So this one was a quilt for my friend Jackie. This is just the scrappy back with some leftover African wax fabrics that I had. That's what she asked for her quilt ages ago as well. But I finally got around to making it for her this year. But the front is the pattern that I can't show you until the spring. So let's just move swiftly on. Next, I finished this simple charm pack square quilt, which was done on point, my first ever quilt on point, and it was for my friend Liz, who had her baby in Dubai in November. So this quilt is now in Dubai with its new baby owner, and I'm really happy with how it turned out. There's a free pattern on my website if you want to make this as well, and the link for all of that is in the description. Next up was my Quiltmas quilt. So hopefully some of you guys caught the Quiltmas collaboration with 11 other YouTubers that I did in December. I made 2 quilts for this. One that got given away to my lucky winner, Connie, and one that is the family quilt that was requested by my son. So it's the same pattern, different fabrics. I kind of really quickly did the binding with the fleece that I had on the backing. I'm not really happy with how the binding turned out, but I wanted to get it done for him for Christmas. Maybe one day I'll go back and fix it. Probably not, though. I did different quilting designs in each of the squares for the family quilt, which I think you can probably see a little better on the back, not sure. But anyway, he loved that this got done in time, and he got it on Christmas Eve with his Christmas pajamas. So he was super chuffed with that. And the last quilt of the year, you're only getting a sneak peek of, was a quilt for Dan. So this is my stepfather. There's a video where I started making this quilt, and there's going to be an update because it's now finished, and he's now got it in Toronto where he lives, and you can see the finishing of this quilt in next week's video. So I hope you enjoyed that. I liked putting it together. If you want to see even more quilts and you want to know what my favorite of my quilts was, then tune in for Sean, the guy who sews is his channel name. He's got a sort of a year in review video where he's pulled together loads of different YouTube content creators to tell their favorite quilt of the year. And it's a great video. I will put the link in the description below. So if you want to just keep looking at quilts, go and click on there and have a look. If you've not subscribed to my channel, I hope you'll consider it. I generally do scrappy quilts. I don't follow a whole lot of quilting rules, and I'd love to see you at my next video. Thanks so much for spending time with me. Bye.